Well, hello again. It's time for Trash Talk. Brandon's here, Stuart's here, we're here, coffee's here. Subject matter, not good.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not. I wasn't, when I brought it up when we talked, we have so many things that we're doing. We're actually,
yeah,
so many great shows coming up this next couple weeks. But for me, I was at work and I was scrolling TikTok because that's what you do at work. And it popped up and there wasn't any details because it was new. It was so fresh.
yeah, breaking
And
news.
yeah, and it said school shooting. And I was like, come on. Like literally like a week into school, like 5 days in, 2 days in for some people, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then I'm like, wait a minute, let me look. And I because I didn't know what page I was on, what profile I was on, what feed I was on. I want to make sure it was legit. And I look, I'm like, oh crap. So then I type it in the search bar and TikTok and several others came up. And then I was like, well, let's go see if Facebook has anything because God knows Facebook is late to the game on everything. And a friend of mine who lives out there, and I don't know if her kids go to that school or not, or if it's just the school district.
Yeah,
I know I'm
in the
99%
Atlanta
sure.
area, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's the school district. I didn't ask, but she had a thing, and she was like, you know, our whole family's hurting right now, waiting on, news. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crap. And then everything started coming out, and that's why I was like, look, man, we've done a show about guns, we've done a show about school shooting. I got to be honest with you. I don't know which direction this episode's going to go in. I can warn people right now. It's early. I'm tired, and I'm probably going to have some language. So if you don't like it, move along.
Right.
Um, I'm pretty pissed off, man.
I I I I I feel your pain. Because as you said, we've had this discussion several times.
Too
And
much.
I'm getting damn tired of it.
Well,
It just,
and
you know, and it we don't seem to learn from our mistakes, and we certainly don't do anything about it. I'm tired of everybody saying, "Oh, it's a shame. We got to do something about gun control. We got
it's
to
not
do
even.
something
Look,
about red flags. We got to do something about background checks." Well, that's fine. You keep talking about it, but rhetoric is crap. You got to
well,
do something.
and then here we go. Here we go. Another example. This goes beyond guns. And it always has. But this goes beyond guns. We got a situation here where you've got a kid. Okay, first off, the dad has already been investigated prior to the shooting. They took his guns and his bow and arrow away for safety. So you had a concern.
Right.
And then you gave them back because you had no reason to keep them. Fine. I understand the laws, all that. You gave them back. There were threats months before saying that these schools were going to be massive shootings. You investigated, you went back and talked and looked at that family. So they were on your radar.
Right.
Then you sat there and you already investigated that kid for some things that he said. He was online looking at school shootings, everything, all these like 15 different red flags. And you're going to sit there and say, oh, you know what? We didn't have enough to do anything. Okay. Not only that, the man legally bought a gun, legally passed a background check, and gave it to his, at the time, what was he, 14 years old?
He was 13 at the
13
time
years
when he
old.
got the gun.
An AR-15 to a 13-year-old. That's like giving a Lamborghini to a kid that just got their driver's permit. What are you doing?
Right.
You know they're going to wreck it. Not only did he do that, he knew about the investigation. He knew what his kid was up to. This man sat there and said, I'm going to give him an AR-15 essentially to protect himself because of what's going on, because of, he's not fitting in at school. He's like, look, I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'll shut up so it can be a two-way show here.
That's okay. I'm feeling the same rant that you are, you know? It,
But what are what are we doing? And then it took him going into the school, leaving class, getting his gun, trying to come back to his classroom, couldn't get in, went to the next class, 4 people dead. That's what it took for the FBI and the police to say, yeah, we have a problem here. I mean, what the fuck are we doing?
well, and that's the part that hurts me the most is and I've said this before, being a military veteran, there is absolutely no place in our society for an AR-15 outside of the military. An automatic weapon is a weapon of mass destruction, and it's used and it was developed for wartime use. So they should not be on the streets. And if there is one congressperson that's listening to this show, do something about it, damn it. There is
They're not.
no reason. And gun shops should not be allowed to sell them. It should be a government contract with the military if you're going to have a weapon of that style for use in military purposes. But on the streets of America, it has absolutely no business because and look, I believe in our Constitution. I believe in the Second Amendment and all. But trust me, there is not a responsible gun owner that goes hunting that is going to ever step out into the woods with an AR-15 to shoot a deer, unless he's looking to bring home hamburger, because there is no reason for it. Now,
No.
that's number one. Number two, I got a 14-year-old grandson. I thought of him immediately when I heard this report. And I
Yeah.
thought, what is my 14-year-old grandson, what's he thinking about somebody his own age picking up a weapon and walking into the school? I know, having just talked to him after this incident, that the kids at his school are looking at each other saying, could this ever happen in our school? And you know what the answer is? Yes,
Yeah.
it could,
Yes, it could.
because our gun laws are too lax, and it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, this goes back, what is it, more than a dozen years or so, or 20 years now, that first shooting at the University of Texas from the bell tower and all started this whole thing of shootings on campuses. And we have not learned anything in 20 years, and we certainly haven't done anything in 20 years. We talk about it, but talk is cheap, folks. And I'm tired of hearing these reports of this 14-year-old kid is now in prison. He's going to be tried as an adult.
Good.
And he cannot receive a death sentence. He cannot be put to death for these killings. So what does that mean? 14 years old, he's going to go to life in prison without parole. So he's going to spend the next 80 years on our tax dollars, probably get his GED, go ahead and get a college degree.
He'll probably, and there's potential if he survives prison. Let's understand that.
Yeah.
There are there are a lot of factors here where he might not even make it to 21. And frankly, whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's going to be taken care of. And what about those two young students and those two adults that just lost their lives and they're not going to see tomorrow?
Well, and here's what makes me mad too. Can we stop calling them? And I understand the legalities of it. I don't need somebody commenting and telling me, Brandon, this is why they do it. Let's just stop with the BS here.
Yeah.
Can we stop calling him the suspect? He said, I did it. The dad said he bought him the gun. There's no question. This is not a grassy knoll situation. Stop calling him the suspect, because they give that kid, the killer, the murderer, the evil, the scum, they give him more respect than they do the 4 people sitting behind me right now who died.
Right.
Are we
because these,
kidding ourselves right now? And here's the thing in our country. Again, stupid politicians out there, Biden, Harris, Trump, Abbott, all of them, they're all in that category, guys. Nobody's safe with Brandon.
that's right.
And they're over there going, it's a really sad day. You know, if we did this, if those people did this, if those people, again, pointing the finger. It's a Spider-Man meme. They're pointing at each other. And nobody is sitting there and taking the time to worry about the 4 people that died and their families. Nobody's sitting there thinking about the traumatic experience and the complete, utter fear that 14-year-old kids have. And it's not even 14-year-old kids. I'm 45. You don't think if somebody walked in a building, started shooting, that I wouldn't be scared to death?
You're right. And
My kid who's 6, about to be 7, and he's been doing drills since he was in preschool, lockdown drills, and he literally says, in case the bad people come, he's assuming the bad people are out there, and he's not wrong for that. But he's 7 years old, man.
well, and you're right about the fact that this kid, this vicious, evil kid that committed this crime, he is now going to have the protection of the law, so that the law runs its legal process in this. What legal process is supporting these 2 young children and these 2 adults from this school? What legal protection did they get? And do they get? And do the future of other schools and students and teachers get? What kind of protection are we giving them? Nothing, because we're not doing anything to stop this from happening.
Of course not. And really, I'm going to say it. A week from now, is it going to be on the news? No. People are going to forget. We're going to go back and worry about what Trump said about Joe Biden a year ago. That's what's going to be on the news.
Yeah.
And are we going to sit here and even, without hurting the people that love these victims, are we going to sit here and ever just give praise and love and true respect to the victims? No. What we're going to do is we're going to sit here and show you, well, here comes this killer dickhead walking in the courtroom. Here's another angle. That's what we do. We're literally putting this prick on a pedestal.
You're right. You're right.
And the dad crying.
Because that makes news. That makes news.
That's it. And that's society. And if I see that dad cry crocodile tears one more time, look, silence his microphone. He has more rights than the people that died. He has more rights than the people that are traumatized. It was May 23rd. May 23rd, the FBI received several tips, online threats to commit a school shooting from unidentified location. But they went and interviewed these guys, the dad and the kid. The FBI, it's the same FBI who sits there and ignores every other threat that happens until it happens. We are so reactive. We're never proactive, ever. And they're worried about.
Key word you just said.
And that's it. They're so worried about tiptoeing around rights when it comes to this, but they sure ignore rights when it comes to everything else. Look, we are backwards. I don't have the answer. I'm not smart enough to come up with the answer, but I do know that we don't pay our teachers enough to sit here and go to school with the threat of death. We also don't care about our kids enough when we literally let them every year. It's not a matter of, if a school shooting is going to happen. It's when and how many and where. It's a Russian roulette wheel. You spin the wheel, and I guarantee you a school shooting. The school year just started, guys.
Look, we are about 30 weeks into 2024. 30 weeks into this year. And do you know that there have been 30 school shootings, mass shootings this year already? That is 1 per week, folks. That is unconscionable. We are the only country in the world with statistics like that. Most other countries in the world know how to handle these issues and mass shootings.
Yeah. You just take them out. Look, And I'm not saying, and people, and the argument from the moronic sides that are like, yeah, but there was a stabbing at Taylor Swift concert, and the Taylor Swift event, or the incident that just happened in Germany. I understand that. We're not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying
Right.
it's limited. It is limited. And also, if you look at the people that were doing the stabbings, those are two vastly different conversations. You're
Right.
talking about some jihadist a-hole, some asshat who lives in a cave, who decides to creep into the country because he's allowed to and goes and stabs people. That's different than some prick kid who, what, is the bully line going to come out now? Are they going to start saying that he was bullied? Because here's my thoughts on that. It's a two-part thought. One, I don't care. Two, bully, yes, I understand. Like, I am so anti-bullying, it's crazy. I very much talked to Luke about that. He had a friend that was kind of a troublemaker for a 5-year-old. I just didn't like him. I felt like if these two grew up in high school together, this kid was going to be a problem. Luckily, Luke doesn't see him anymore. But he's kind of a bully. And he would try to get Luke to say things and joke about things on somebody else's expense, and Luke was in this like torn situation. I flat out told Luke, and I've told him that 100 times, we don't do that. You want to joke with your friends and make fun of each other, that's different. But we don't joke about somebody who maybe his hair looks a little different, who maybe doesn't have the clothes that you have. That's not okay. That's bullying. And I told him, I find out you're bullying, bro, I bring the hammer down. You have no idea. But here's my thing. We don't shoot people because you get picked on. That's when the parents come in, and they should be a parent. That dad was not a parent. That dad was a failure.
And I'm glad that he's sitting in a can too.
Me too.
Is going to be charged. But again, I mean, we could do a whole show about the parental side of this whole issue too. That parents are not aware of what the kids are texting, what they're talking about, who they're talking to. Law enforcement had red flags, but they said, "Hey, until a kid does anything, we can't do anything." Well, folks, he did something, and there's 4 people that are going in the ground now because these red flags were not seen and were not, read and followed up on. There are so many things that are wrong with this story as the story last week and the week before and the week before and last year and the year before, and all that is just so wrong, and we are not doing enough about it.
True.
We have to start doing something about it, because folks, there are young people out there, young people and adults, that have watched what happened with this shooting this week, that are plotting their move next week or the week after.
It's happening. It's happening. Look, it's just over. Like, I sit there and I think of all this stuff, Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, I mean, Parkside, like, I can keep going. The shooting that just happened in Allen, a year ago, right? That wasn't at a school, but it was still a public place. And guess what? We don't know anything. We don't know anything about it.
And and one of the answers is, well, the person had some mental issues.
Okay, so do I.
That's a red flag. If they had some mental issues, then it means that you have to keep a little bit closer watch on that person. We also have our politicians who will go nameless, because I don't even want to utter their names, that say, well, the answer is to arm the teachers in the schools.
We can't even buy them glue sticks. They can't even buy their own crayons. They rely on us to buy their school supplies, because they can't get school supplies, but you want to arm a teacher who gets paid less than a bartender. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
This is not a new issue that we're talking about. We talk about it over and over and over again. It's making me nauseous.
Yeah, sorry guys.
And I think
I think we're done. Yeah, we're done. Look, the reality is this, as we wrap up the show right now, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be the last time we talk about it. I mean, it might be just because we don't want to. But I do this and I bring it up because I am angry and we have to let it out. But I also do it because I want people to remember. I want people to not normalize school shootings, and that's what's happening. The media is normalizing it because
Yeah.
it makes them money and brings them viewership. Politicians like to talk about it because it's talking points and it gets people riled up and keeps us divided. But we have to look at the deeper level. My son goes to school daily, and I unfortunately I do think about that on a regular basis. It's
Yeah.
I think about if I'm dropping him off, what, am I going to get a phone call? I do. I hate that. I try to push it out of my head, and some days are better than others. Um,
When we were growing up, we were worried about what to do in case of a fire in a
or
school.
tornado.
And we used to, or tornado, we had drills in school for fire drills for tornado and hurricane drills. Now the kids have to learn about active shooter drills. I mean,
And they got
that's
officers
insane in our
that,
society.
and every school has officer or officers. I mean,
Yeah,
thank God this school's, I don't know what they called him, but we'll just say officer that was on campus
yeah,
confronted the kid. And you know what? It was going to come down to, you stop or I'm shooting you. And the kid, the prick, put the gun
yeah,
down and
yeah.
turned himself in. But honestly, it could have gone another way.
It,
Anyway, guys,
yeah,
next week
that's
we
it.
are, no, I don't know what's next week. Who cares? It's
Next
going to be
week.
something different.
Yeah, and it'll be happier for sure.
Yeah. Sorry,
Go out and
guys.
make it a good day and stop and think about how you're going to cast your vote in the fall for people that support gun control.
I'm
Vote
voting for The
vote
Rock.
for them. All right. See you next week. Bye.
There we